After 47 years of conflict, we are at a breaking point. Right now, there are really only two ways this can go for the United States and Iran. Either they sign a historic peace agreement, or they plunge the entire Middle East into a devastating full-scale war. And the whole crisis really comes down to this one single point on the map. Iran has shut down the Strait of Hormuz. This is the lifeblood for a massive chunk of the world's oil supply. Tankers are literally being forced to turn around, and that's already sending huge shockwaves through the global economy. The tension is just unbearable. So, with a very fragile 2-week ceasefire just about to expire, literally the entire world is holding its breath and asking the same exact question. Is it going to be diplomacy, or are we about to see all these threats spill over into open war? Okay, so let's first look down the path to war, because honestly, the language being used by both sides has been nothing short of explosive. Listen to that. The bluntness of this ultimatum is just staggering. President Trump has made it clear he's ready to hit Iran harder than any country has ever been hit before. He's threatening to take out power plants, bridges, anything to stop Tehran from getting a nuclear weapon. And Iran's response? It's been just as fierce. They don't see the U.S. blockade as some kind of military tactic. To them, it's an illegal act of aggression, a form of collective punishment that hurts the entire Iranian population. And right here, you can see just how massive the gap is between how they each see this. The U.S. says its actions are totally fine under the rules of war, and they accuse Iran of hiding weapons among civilians. But from Iran's point of view, that very same blockade is an unlawful attack and a total violation of the ceasefire. They're not even speaking the same language. And make no mistake, Iran is not just sitting around waiting. During the ceasefire, they've been working at top speed to repair missile and drone launchers. They're showing off videos of fully stocked munitions warehouses on state TV. And they're publicly saying, no way, we are not giving up our highly enriched uranium. They're absolutely preparing for the worst-case scenario. But even as those war drums get louder, there is another story unfolding at the exact same time. A parallel track, a really frantic last-ditch effort to pull everyone back from the brink. You can just feel the tension in this timeline. These negotiations are on a razor's edge. The U.S. delegation gets in on Monday. The Iranians arrive on Tuesday, which, by the way, is the exact day the ceasefire expires. All eyes are on Wednesday, just hoping for some sign, any sign of a breakthrough. And these are the people in the room trying to defuse this whole crisis. You've got high-level teams from both countries meeting in Islamabad. Now, you might be asking, why Pakistan? Well, it's because their military chief, a guy named Asim Munir, has somehow become this highly trusted back channel for both Washington and Tehran. It makes Pakistan one of the only neutral places on Earth where a conversation like this could even happen. So what's the big prize here? It's something called the Islamabad Declaration. And we're not just talking about a temporary pause in the fighting. We're talking about a massive landmark agreement that would formally end almost 5 decades of hostility. It's an incredibly ambitious, almost unthinkable goal, but it is on the table. Of course, this whole standoff isn't happening in a vacuum. Both leaders are dealing with immense pressure, not just from each other, but from back home and from a very, very worried international community. Over in Washington, President Trump is looking at some tough numbers. His approval rating is down at 37%. Politically, that makes it really hard to kick off a costly war. A major diplomatic victory, on the other hand, that would be a huge political win. And for most American voters, this is the number that really matters. $4.05 a gallon for gas. Prices have shot up since this conflict started, and the economy is still the #1 issue. A long war that keeps gas prices high is just politically toxic. And the American public has been really clear about how they feel. A solid 61% majority is against any more military action. There's just no appetite for another big conflict in the Middle East. And, behind all the politics and the numbers, there is a very real human cost. Critics, like the governor of Kentucky, are pointing to the American lives that have already been lost, grounding this whole geopolitical chess game in the tragic reality of war. And the shockwaves from this are spreading far and wide, causing instability all over the globe. We're seeing furious protests in Israel over a separate ceasefire with Hezbollah. In Europe, allies are starting to fracture, with Spain pushing to cancel an agreement with Israel. We've got arson attacks in the UK claimed by a pro-Iranian group, and in the Gulf, Bahrain is cracking down on dissent. The entire world is on edge. From the Vatican, even Pope Leo has weighed in. He called these fragile ceasefires a sign of relief and is basically pleading with world leaders to find a permanent, diplomatic way out of this mess. So, it all comes down to this. The threats, the negotiations, the massive global pressure, it has all led to this one single critical moment. And these are the two futures sitting on the table. Path A is that historic peace deal, the Islamabad Declaration. The Strait of Hormuz reopens, tensions ease. Path B is a devastating regional war. The talks collapse, and a full-scale conflict just swallows the Middle East. The deadline is here. The delegations are in the room. And honestly, the consequences of whatever they decide to do next could end up defining the 21st century.